let's get into the facts. About 25 girls and women aged 14 to 24 were systematically raped during the occupation in the basement of just one house in Bucha. So that is one house in one assault across a short period of time in a war that's been going on for more than 50 days across most of a country. A 31-year-old woman in a village in the Kharkiv region said that she was raped at gunpoint multiple times by a soldier who entered the school where her family was sheltering. Another woman, age 33, says that she was raped after Russian soldiers killed her husband. I think I remember the specifics of that case, and it's absolutely devastating. And a Ukrainian member of parliament told CBS News that rape is happening systematically in areas being occupied by the Russians. In fact, there was prior reporting that in one area, young girls, in fact, are cutting their hair to try to be less attractive to avoid being raped by Russian soldiers. Obviously, every bit of this absolutely just the most uncomfortable, disgusting stuff. On top of the mass killing of civilians, the mining of dead bodies, the use of weapons that are supposed to be banned, from cluster munitions to fletchet spreaders, and like all sorts of weapons that are not supposed to be being used in the first place. You also have this, which, look, I don't know if this is just the normal horrors of war that should be a reminder of why we should do everything we can to avoid these sorts of situations, or if this is being persecuted as some sort of tactic in a apparently foolhardy attempt to break the will of the Ukrainians. It seems, if that's the case, to be having the opposite effect, Francesca.
I mean, yeah, all war is pointless. That's my, I mean, look, I'm a peace-loving lefty. Like, you're never gonna get me to, like, my heroes were all war resistors. Sorry, even World War I, World War II even, and that was supposed to be the righteous war. So I'm always gonna stand on the side of diplomacy and peace before this. And of course, we all have seen the pictures out of Abu Ghraib. We know what the American soldiers did systematically to soldiers who were so-called terrorists, which included things like rape. But this, again, you let us not desensitize ourselves. That's all I'm gonna say. We cannot desensitize ourselves. This is the year 2022. Not only should we be beyond warfare in and of itself, but absolutely the awful ways and these war crimes and the human rights violations that don't always necessarily have to accompany what is already such a pig-headed endeavor.
Exactly. Yeah, by the way, and it ties into the allegations that there's certainly an element of attempted genocide here, not just in the killing, but the moving away of populations, the abduction of children, and now apparently the systematic rape of women. These are the sorts of things that are done when you are trying to wipe out a population. So bear that in mind. Also, in terms of the wiping out of population, we have to turn to some of the bad news recently, and that might get even worse soon, and that is the siege of Mariupol, which has been sort of a constant from the very beginning of this conflict. They have been holding out impossibly long in Mariupol, but now the Russian Defense Ministry, they released a statement giving Ukrainian troops there a deadline to surrender, saying surrender and live. That timeline has now passed. They did not surrender. They are continuing to defend the city. It's been fully surrounded by weeks, hit continuously by shelling and slowly advancing ground troops. Survivors who've left the city have repeatedly described it as a hell on earth, deprived of food, water, and heating. Many are saying that mass starvation is happening right now there. Its mayor said 21,000 people had been killed just in Mariupol, and that their bodies were carpeted through the streets, which one might expect considering the mass long-range bombardment that has gone on for weeks and weeks at this point. According to the defenders, a steelworks is being used as sort of the center point of a last stand by the Ukrainian resistance. And Zelensky says that Russia is deliberately trying to destroy everyone who is in the city. Like that if they can't take it, they will kill as many people as possible and destroy as much of the city as possible. Through the course of going on 50 days, a lot there you can do a lot of destruction, and that is what we're seeing, especially in Mariupol.
Yeah. This is, I mean, it's incredible, right? You're like, what is the end game here? The end game is to rule over a pile of ashes, but not even rule. Like, there aren't even enough soldiers or people or like plans to actually like, what are you gonna do? You want Ukraine back? Look at the state that you've put it in, right there. And so These are the actions of a total madman. And I do not know what the way out is, but you're absolutely right that this is also incredibly desperate. It's like, yeah, there's no long game. The game is cause as much destruction and death as possible.
Yeah. And by the way, remember, one of the arguments for why they had to do this was to save the people in Ukraine, to help the people in Ukraine. This is a hell of a way to do it. And by the way, similar arguments have been used to justify many invasions, and the results have been not necessarily exactly the same, but largely the same over a long period of time. So when you hear those sorts of arguments about liberating people and saving people, grains of salt on that too.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.